Hello everyone, I'm back with my next video for class 10 students. This is the question answers video of the chapter Footprint Without Feet by H.G. Wells. So let us start with question and answers. Question 1. Why were the two boys in London surprised and fascinated? The two boys in London saw fresh muddy footprints appearing on the steps of a house, but the barefooted man was not visible, so they were surprised and fascinated. Question 2. What did Griffin do inside the store? Griffin broke open the boxes and wrappers and dressed himself in warm clothes. Soon, with shoes, an overcoat and a wide-brimmed hat, he became fully dressed and visible person. In the kitchen of the restaurant, he ate and drank to his heart's content. He found cold meat and coffee, and he followed up the meal with sweets and wine taken from the grocery store. In the end, he laid down on the pile of quilts to sleep. Question 3. What did Griffin do in the shop of a theatrical company? He wore bandages round his forehead and put on dark glasses, a false nose, big bushy side whiskers and a large hat. He attacked the shopkeeper from behind and robbed him of all his money. Question 4. What was the curious episode that took place in clergyman's study? One morning, the clergyman and his wife were awakened by noise. They saw no person. They were shocked to find that their money had been stolen from the desk. Question 5. The landlord's wife was convinced that Griffin was an eccentric scientist. What made her think of Griffin in these terms? The answer is, Griffin arrived at an inn in Iping village during winter season, which itself was an uncommon thing to happen. He also had a weird appearance. Mrs. Halls tried to be friendly with him, but he was rude to her and told her that he didn't want to be disturbed, and the reason for his visit to the village of Iping was solitude. These were some of the reasons due to which Mrs. Halls considered him to be an eccentric scientist. Question 6. Griffin was rather a lawless person. Pick out instances which prove that he was lawless. The answer is, it is rightly said that Griffin was a lawless person. A person who follows law and order of the country cannot think of damaging others' property. But Griffin set fire to the house and became a homeless wanderer. He also robbed a shopkeeper of all the money he could find. He also stole the housekeeping money from the clergyman's desk. Griffin also attacked Mrs. Halls when she entered his room. All these activities and instances prove that he was not a law-abiding citizen. Question 7. What did the scientist do when he became furious? Why were the people in the bar horrified? What happened to the constable? The scientist took off his bandages and spectacles and became headless. The people in the bar were shocked to see a headless man. Griffin hit the constable Jaffers hard and made him senseless. Question 8. How do you assess Griffin as a scientist? Griffin was a brilliant scientist. He invented some drugs and made himself as an invisible person. But he misused his scientific discovery and became a lawless person too. Griffin was thus not a true scientist. Question 9. Why did the landlord want to eject Griffin? Why did Griffin set the house on fire? The answer is, the landlord wanted to eject Griffin from his house because his activities were whimsical. Griffin set the house on fire to take his revenge on the landlord. Question 10. What did the scientist do when Mrs. Halls confronted him? The answer is, when Mrs. Halls confronted the scientist, he threatened her and threw off his bandages, whiskers, spectacles, and even the nose in the minute. The people were horrified to see the headless man. Question 11. How did Griffin escape? Griffin began throwing off his bandages, whiskers, spectacles, and even the nose. Then he became even more invisible by throwing off all the garments one after another. Then he became invisible and none knew where he was. Question 12. Griffin misused his invention instead of using it for the betterment of the society. Do you think moral values are important along with intellectual abilities? Discuss. Griffin was a scientist who had made a discovery due to which he could be invisible. But he was rather an immoral and a lawless scientist who misused a scientific discovery for his petty selfish gains. He set his landlord's house on fire when he asked him to vacate it. He entered the store invisible, stole clothes and food. At another shop, he attacked the shopkeeper from behind and ran away after robbing his money. At Iping, he stole the clergyman's money from his desk and hit Mrs. Halls by throwing a chair on her. He hurled blows on the police constable, Mr. Jeffers, and knocked him down. In this way, Griffin misused his scientific discovery without making benefit to the mankind. Yes, moral values are important with intellectuality. Question 13. Scientific discoveries have made life easier but insecure. Explain with reference to the story Footprints Without Feet written by H.G. Wells. The answer is, there is no doubt that scientific discoveries have made life easier. Take any sphere of human activity, electricity, telecommunication, electronics, computer, etc. These have totally changed man's life. We can interact and walk on moon. Trip to Mars is next on our agenda. We can fly like birds. Supersonic planes fly at more than the speed of sound. Wonderful drugs can overcome deadly diseases. Surgery can replace defective limbs. Despite all these discoveries, human life is becoming insecure. Weapons of mass destruction are a constant danger. The fear of chemical or biological warfare looms large. Diseases like AIDS and SARS and COVID can destroy human race. Moreover, an eccentric scientist can degenerate himself into a lawless anarchist. He can become devilish and a disaster for himself and society. Lawlessness and anarchist behavior makes him homeless wanderer without clothes and money. What other extraordinary things happened at the inn? The landlord and his wife were surprised to see the door of the scientist's room open. Usually it is shut and locked, and Griffin becomes furious if anyone enters his room. So they did not want to miss this opportunity. They peeped around the door and, finding nobody inside, decided to enter and investigate. The bedclothes were cold, showing that the scientist must have been up for some time now. All of a sudden, Mrs. Halls heard a sniff close to her ear. A moment later, that hat on the bed suddenly leapt up and dashed itself onto her face. Then the bedroom chair became alive. Springing into the air, it charged straight at her legs. As she and her husband turned away in the terror, the extraordinary chair pushed them both out of the room and then appeared to slam and lock the door after them. Mrs. Halls almost fell down the stairs in hysterics. She was by now convinced that the room was haunted by spirits and the stranger had somehow caused these to enter into the furniture. I hope this video was useful to you. Do take good care of yourself. Bye.